Alright, mic check, mic check. So, alright, everybody, and welcome to this year's 2023 Best Cases for the iPhone lineup. This is going to be a new series that I'm going to try to do on a yearly basis, maybe even do it twice a year, just to kind of see what's out there in the case and manufacturing world for iPhones especially. So, obviously, I got the iPhone 15 Pro Max this year in a titanium colorway, and depending on what situation I'm in, I either have it completely caseless or I do wear a case. Most of the time that I do have it caseless, I am at home because I know that I'm safe, I'm in a rugged environment. It's not a big deal if I do drop it, but if I'm like downstairs playing with my daughter, or if I'm outside, if I'm commuting, then I slap a case on it because I don't want to risk dropping it, even though I do have Apple Care Plus, because I don't know, I just like to keep it as pristine as possible, but that's just me. So leave a comment down below if you are a case person just overall. Are you kind of like me that, you wear a case depending on the situation and the environment? Obviously, there's different ways to get it done, but for right now, what I want to do is walk you guys through basically my top 5 cases. I have tested nearly 100 cases for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and all these cases have, their iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 and 15 Plus counterparts, but I'm going to be specifically talking about the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I've gone through the entire gamut, right? I've gone through cases that are so thin that are basically just a glorified skin. I've gone through huge brick-like cases. I've gone through cases that have multiple functions, through case ecosystems. So in this video, what I want to do is break that down and kind of water it down to the top 5 cases that I have. Now, this is mostly going to be subjective because depending on who you are, you might be somebody that wants that big rugged case, or you might be somebody that wants the most minimal, thin, clear case as possible. So this is just my personal top 5. I will link everything down below for you guys to check out. So without further ado, let's talk about my iPhone 15 Pro Max cases, or my favorite ones, and leave a comment down below of what you think your favorite one would be. Let's get right into it. BenQ released what they call their 3 Musketeer designer monitors, a family of monitors purpose-built with the designer, creator, and Mac user in mind. The new PD3220U, which is their top-of-the-line 32-inch variant, comes with everything any designer, creator, or business professional would need out of a premium monitor. This monitor provides us with a bright and color-accurate IPS LED true 4K display with support for HDR10 content in a multitude of color modes like DCI-P3, low blue light, animation modes, and much more. This is absolutely perfect for your desk setup. One of the best things about this display is that it comes with multiple display modes, as I mentioned earlier, but out of the box it comes ready to go in the MBook mode, which is a display mode purpose-built for Mac users. The idea is to be as color accurate as possible compared to what Apple gives us in their MacBook and Mac displays. This is also a single cable solution product, meaning that you just need one Thunderbolt cable, which comes provided in the packaging to get your desk set up and running. This monitor also supports up to 85 watts of power pass-through to your laptop, which is plenty to make sure you're always juiced up, and since it is powered by Thunderbolt, the monitor turns into a USB-C hub of sorts that gives you an extra 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, a display port, a 15-watt Thunderbolt out port, a USB Type-B port, and another USB-C port to daisy chain multiple monitors. The monitor also has a built-in KVM switch that allows you to connect 2 different hosts and easily switch between them with their G2 puck for easy reachability. The 32-inch designer monitor starts at $1099, but if you click the link in the description and use the code listed below, 9to5Mac viewers get an additional 10% off. So for less than $1,000, this monitor is a must for all designers and work professionals. Thank you to BenQ for partnering up with 9to5Mac on this video. Again, be sure to click on the link below to support us and BenQ and find out more. And now, back to the video. Alright, and then the last thing I do want to mention before we get started is that I'm pretty much just grading each one of these cases as a case itself. I'm not talking about the actual packaging, the delivery process, the unboxing. I'm not even going to take into account the ecosystem that it comes with maybe MagSafe accessories and things like that. So I'm going to try to keep this strictly to the case and try to keep it objective, even though, like I mentioned earlier, I tend to bias towards more thinner cases because I kind of like to have the feel of a phone, but that's just what I personally like. But in no particular order, again, my top 5 cases, I'm going to start with a Pitaka case. So Pitaka, they've been around for a long time. I've been personally using them for years. I want to say maybe even 4 or 5 years now at this point. And their kind of claim to fame has been this aramid fiber material. And there have been other companies that do this as well, but I want to say that they were the first ones to get that done, is that you get this perfect kind of middle ground between a super thin and slim case that lets you still feel the form factor of the actual iPhone, but it still is rigid enough that it does protect your iPhone from some falls on concrete, from some falls on some kind of harder surfaces, and it's not just there as a glorified skin, right? Because there are cases like, for instance, the Totally case, which honestly I did like also, but that was very malleable. It was very easy to move around. there wasn't very much actual drop protection, if any at all. It would protect against scuffs and scratches, but if you do drop your phone, you're kind of at the mercy of what the case can protect, which isn't that much. So that's why I like the Pitaka case, because it is a lot more rigid than those cases. Again, there's nothing wrong with the Totally case, but this is just the thin case that I personally prefer. So like I said, it is very rigid, it is extremely thin, it is made out of this aramid fiber. It kind of just looks like carbon fiber at the end of the day, but I like this new kind of retro colorway that they're going with. They still have their traditional black version, which is great to have, but you can see that the kind of the standout features are that instead of actually doing actual buttons, they actually do complete cutouts, right? So you can see that's perfectly cut out for the actual iPhone. If I slap it in, it's very easy to put on and it stays on, but also if you want to remove it, it's very easy to take off as well. It also has a very nice camera bump, so you do keep protection for the camera bump. There is enough of a lip, so if you do put the phone face down, it will be okay if you do put it face down. And then overall, it's just a very well-machined and well-built case, right? It feels protective, it feels sturdy. And another thing that I like to kind of look at when I'm looking at cases is, does it have additional MagSafe batteries? Because yes, every year since the iPhone 12, those magnets inside of the actual iPhone have gotten stronger. So the iPhone 15 Pro Max is, I would say, the strongest magnet in terms of how powerful it is to kind of keep accessories on. But I always like to have some additional magnets built into the case, so you do have even more, especially when you're dealing with something like a wallet where you have your credit cards in there. It's good to make sure that you have a very strong additional magnet on all these cases. And I want to say that my top 5 cases all are MagSafe cases at the end of the day. So again, the aramid fiber makes it extremely light, but still on a pound for pound and density standpoint, very strong and very rigid when it comes to protecting the iPhone. It protects against a decent amount of drop protection. Again, it's not a huge case, so it's not going to protect against everything. And you do get enough of a lip on the screen. You get a nice lip on the camera bump. The actual design language I prefer, which is this new retro style, very minimal branding, perfect cutouts, and overall, it's just my favorite slim case to recommend to people, especially with those strong MagSafe magnets. And I don't know how they fit magnets in such a slim case that I believe is just like 0.3 millimeters in thickness. And like I mentioned, I will put links in the description below. They are affiliate links, but none of the companies that I mentioned in here, gave me an additional compensation or even know that I'm making this video. But this Pitaka case, and again, it is that Black Friday, Cyber Monday kind of season. So this one right now, I believe, is $51 for the iPhone 15 through the iPhone 15 Pro Max case for this MagEZ 4 case from Pitaka. So that is case number 1. Again, no particular order. So the next case I want to talk about is by a company called Aulumu. And if you follow me on Twitter, which I'll put right here, you know that I absolutely love this company, from their MagSafe accessories to their MagSafe cases to all their other products and all their like ecosystem stuff. So I've actually never heard of this company up to about 3 months ago, and I've learned that they've been around for a couple years and they've actually make these amazing cases. So this case right here is their A15 vegan leather case, and what I wanted to do is kind of include a nice vegan leather case because I know that Apple kind of went away with their fine woven, which was apparently a disaster. I've kind of seen them in the Apple store and they're not great to look at. If you're going to go with an Apple case, I would go with the Apple silicone case, but that's just me. But again, I'm not mentioning any Apple cases in this lineup. But this is their A15 vegan leather, and what I like about this is, yes, it's protective, yes, it has some great tactile buttons, yes, it has kind of like this Stormtrooper look, which is kind of like mostly white with some black accents, but I just like the aesthetic overall, right? So it is a very protective case. It completely hugs the iPhone itself. There's nothing kind of out in the open. There's a much larger lip for the actual screen itself compared to the Pitaka case. Then you actually have a nice camera bump as well. Maybe not as big as the Pitaka case, but a nice camera bump to make sure that you protect the actual lenses on these iPhones, because every single year these iPhone cameras are getting bigger and bigger. Then on the actual side, you do get some nice tactile buttons. So instead of the Pitaka cases leaving it wide open, this actually covers all of the railings of the iPhone, so this is going to be the same thing for the remaining cases. But I like the actual buttons themselves. They're very tactile, especially now that we have an action button instead of the mute switch, so that's something to consider. You have great cutouts on the bottom for the speakers and the new USB-C port, which is awesome. And then if you kind of look at the back, the aesthetic is just what really kind of stands it apart. So there is a little vent right here which says CPU cooling holes. Again, this is going to be very passive. It's not really doing much of anything. There is actually some pass-through in there, so if you take the case off, you can actually see through those little holes, but there's no like fan or anything kicking in. So maybe it does help a tiny bit, but nothing for my testing at the end of the day. It's more of an aesthetic piece. And then you have all these other little accents, like the little divots in the actual case itself. You have the Aulumu branding. Again, just very well made in my opinion. And I've been using this one, I want to say, the most out of all of them up until recently since I've been testing these. It's going to patina pretty well. Maybe not as good as genuine leather or full grain leather, of course, but for what it is, it's amazing. And it's extremely light as well. And the inside is made out of like this cushion that I've never seen before. It's not like a microfiber lining. It's this kind of just like, it feels like a pillow inside of here, which is kind of nice. So if you're looking for a nice unique case, and I would kind of recommend going this route. And they have some other options as well, more of a clear option. They have a black on black option. I just really like this white one. And again, I've been using this one for a while, and you don't see any kind of stains from any other colors. And like I mentioned, this is kind of like the Cyber Monday, Black Friday season. So this is 20% off. Normally it's $60. 20% off of that, I think, brings it down to about $48. So that one is the A15 by Aulumu. So case number 3 is another vegan leather case, and it's actually a new lineup by a company called Moft. I've used Moft accessories for years now. They make these origami style kind of accessories for Apple products, which are very functional and very useful. But again, we're not talking about their ecosystem, purely the case. So what I like about this is that it does come in a bunch of nice color options. So they went with these kind of like darker pastel-y colors. I have their green colorway here, which I think they call their seafoam green, which I absolutely love. It comes in a bunch of different colors, I think up to 6 different colors, from black to white to blue, which is sapphire. Then they have blackberry, and then finally they have toupee or top, I think that's how you say it. But I actually like this new seafoam color, which is beautiful. It's very minimal branding. And what I like the most about this is that the inside of it has this beautiful microfiber lining, which you know is going to be very protective for your iPhone. You slap this thing in there, it hugs the iPhone beautifully. And again, you still have all the things that you would want out of a case. You have the nice lip for the camera bump itself. You have a nice lip for the screen. So if you do put it face down, you know that you're good to go. You're not going to be scratching any surfaces. And you might notice that the bottom cutouts aren't like precision made for the speaker grill or for the USB-C port. Obviously, you can still access them and see them all, but they're actually made for another accessory, which is like their lanyard accessory that you put in here. And you might notice that also on the inside, there's like a little bit of extra space on the bottom. But again, I don't want to talk about that too much. Just know that that's why it doesn't look fully kind of precision made for the iPhone, because it's made for the rest of their ecosystem. And one of my favorite parts about this is the actual tactile buttons. They're very well made. They're made out of this like soft metal as well, and they're color matched. So you do have kind of like the seafoam green, but then you have this like metallic green, which accents it perfectly. So from a look standpoint, from a feel standpoint, from a protection standpoint, it'll be able to protect any iPhone from most falls. Again, we're talking normal falls, probably 3 to 6 feet on some concrete or on some wood. It's going to be okay. But if you drop it maybe from 15, 20, 30 feet from a 5-story building, something might happen. But again, I just wanted to give you some real world use when it comes to these different cases. So that one is by Moft, another vegan leather option for you guys to consider. Again, none of these are crazy thick or anything like that, just something that I would personally recommend. Alright, so let's start to round off this video and talk about the last 2 cases. This is actually one of the newer ones that I've been using, and this is the Nomad rugged case. And this is probably as beefy as I would personally go. Like I mentioned, there are some beefier and kind of more protective cases if you want to really throw it off a building. But in terms of protection and how big I would personally go, this Nomad rugged case is as big as I would go, just because of what it's made out of and the build materials. And again, for the size of it, it is extremely light. So you can slap your phone in here. It is made out of a durable TPU bumper, so it does have a nice kind of tactile feel, which is great to have. It's a big bump for the actual camera bump itself, so you really don't have to worry about it. Each corner is even slightly more raised, so when you do drop your phone and you kind of let it fall side to side, then you know it's going to be very protective and kind of shock absorb, all that good stuff. So it kind of just feels like a tank in my opinion, but it still feels light in the hand, and it still fits in a tight pocket if need be. And I think the reason it's so light is because the back of it is made out of this like polycarbonate material, so it is extremely light, and it's also very rigid, right? So you have the side bumper, which is made out of like this rubbery plastic, and then you have the back plate, which is made out of this rigid and kind of tough TPU material. So the actual volume rocker and the action button is a little bit different than the actual hold button or the lock button. The lock button has kind of like this rugged material, kind of so you can feel exactly what you're touching, which I like because I like to keep my phone in my pocket and be able to use the volume rocker up and down. And then the actual volume rocker themselves is kind of like this nice softer material. It's still made out of both sides of metal, but one of them is more rigid and the other one is a soft finish. And then like I mentioned, all these cases do have some additional MagSafe magnets to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere when you do slap it on a MagSafe accessory, and it's rated for up to a 15-foot drop protection. So that is what their website states, just something to take note of. And this one does go for $60, and if there is a Black Friday Cyber Monday deal, I'll link it down below because I believe there is. But that is a Nomad rugged case by Nomad themselves. And then last but not least, we had to pick a actual leather case because Apple, like I said earlier, they discontinued their leather lineup because they're trying to be more environmentally friendly, which is great, but that opens up the door to a lot of other companies to really replace that market share because at the end of the day, people still like their genuine and full grain leather. So that is where the Andar Aspen comes into place, and this is their new technically tea colorway, which is this beautiful, like bright, but also dull at the same time red. And you can see that even after about, let's say 3-4 weeks of use, and I've been using this one probably the most out of any case, there is some nice wear and tear on it, but in a good way, right? You have some nice scratches on here, a patina. You can see that it is kind of protecting my phone nicely. It's already getting darker in some areas, which I absolutely love. And the smell is still there, so it does smell like full grain leather, which is something that none of these other cases have. And it still strikes that perfect balance between being kind of thick enough to feel like you have a protective iPhone case, but thin enough where it's nothing crazy. So you slap your phone on here, and like I mentioned, it is a technically tea colorway, so it is this nice red color, with the accent colors being all black and matte black. So the actual volume rocker and action button are this black colorway. The hold button or the lock button is also this black colorway. The bumper around the actual camera ring is also that same color, which is beautiful. And it's enough of a bumper to protect your actual camera bump, also enough of a lip to protect your screen. So it's checking off all the boxes that you would want. All the cutouts are precisionally made, so it does fit your USB-C port. You have all your speaker grills kind of cut out and ready to go, and just overall it's just super well made in my opinion. The inside of it does have a nice microfiber lining, so you do have that protection for your actual iPhone itself. And it's pretty easy to pop off as well. And you can see that on the inside, it does have a nice MagSafe ring in there, and it does say full grain leather, and the actual branding is on the inside. So on the outside, if you like a case that has no branding whatsoever, this one is going to be the way to go out of all the ones that I mentioned, because all the other ones do have at least some sort of branding, even the Nomad one, which is very, very minimal. So this is the Andar Aspen, and like I mentioned, I couldn't recommend this one enough, and right now it is going for $55 on Andar's website. If I find a link with a discount, I'll leave that down below as well, but that is a Technically T version. Shout out to Technically T's YouTube channel if you guys do want to check him out. He does some great case reviews just like this one. And then I did want to throw an honorable mention in there because you might have noticed that I didn't actually include any clear cases. So the one that I'm going to mention on here is by a company called CaseKoo. So they make these clear cases, but what I like about it is that yes, it is clear, so you can kind of show off your new titanium color or your black titanium or whatever the case may be, but it is still very protective. It has a nice rubber finish on the actual grip itself. It protects the actual screen with a lip, it protects the camera bump, but it is multifunctional. So it has a MagSafe ring, which actually pops out and turns into an actual stand for your iPhone that you can kind of stand vertically or horizontally. So just wanted to throw that one in there as an option, and this is probably the cheapest one out of all of them at less than $30 on Amazon. So this is by a company called CaseKoo, very protective, very rigid on the back plate, but also it has another function, which is that it acts like a stand. And if you really want to have like a third function, you can actually use it almost like a pump socket to make sure that you're holding your phone securely. But that is my top 5 cases that I've been using. Again, I've tested almost 100 cases. I believe we're at like 91 cases that I've been able to test out, from thin to thick to everything in between, from different build materials and build quality. Nothing that's really going to break the bank. Like there's nothing that hit like $100 or even I want to say like $70, and as low as $30 in my testing. So you do get a lot of different kind of variety in that price point. But overall, these are my personal top 5. Again, leave some comments down below about what you think your personal top 5 is or what your favorite case is overall. And if you think I left out the case that you would want to use, let me know with a comment down below. I'll check it out. Maybe, like I said, maybe 6 months, 7 months into owning the iPhone 15 Pro Max, we'll do like a round 2 and give awards out to those other cases as well, just to kind of see what they're like. And maybe we'll structure this a little bit differently as well. I'm always open to suggestions, but let me know with a comment down below. If you made it to the end of this very long video, leave it a little dolphin in the comments so I know you made it to the end. And if you want to watch some more iOS, iPadOS, or macOS content, click on one of these right here. And until next time, I'm Fernando. We got some great Cyber Monday and Black Friday content coming, so get your wallets ready, everybody. Peace.